different point than the one you were making.
I know,
that's
but
not the physical point is a very different point
yeah,
from
but
the one
that
you were
aside,
making.
but the lack of respect is you don't look. I wish this wasn't the truth. Long-term level, when you know your wife has slept with another man, had sex with another man, every position you've done with her, she's done it with another man, and you show forgiveness on that end, is that not just an extreme version of the guy that double texts?
Absolutely not.
And so,
absolutely not. It doesn't make him emasculate. It doesn't. He's not. You're framing forgiveness as he's emasculated himself by forgiving her, and she can never get over that moment of him emasculating himself.
I believe that very, very strongly, and the reason being is that the relationship should mean loads to you, but part of you should understand for her to do this, we don't see the relationship in the same light. Your inability to understand the importance of reciprocity is what makes you less masculine. It's not a case of forgive me all day, every day. But for me to step out on you means that this relationship means something different in your eyes than it does in my eyes.
But you're saying it's different if it's a man.
I wouldn't say it's totally different. I think the disrespect is there, but I think
no. But you said if it's a woman, she forgives him. Or if it's a woman and she forgives him, it's fine and it can all work. But if a man forgives her,
I said it's
doomed.
difficult. I said it's very difficult. But I do think men can compartmentalize sex in a way women can't. Similarly, when we were talking about male cheats, you were very quick to say that the cheater is a problem. But when females cheat, it's an emotional need she was outsourcing, which seems to be forgivable.
I didn't say she wasn't wrong. I said it was wrong.
Only when I probed that. Only when I probed that. Your original...
I have no issue saying anyone who cheats is in the wrong.
But
what I was refuting was the idea that she's only cheating because she doesn't respect him.
Yeah.
That she could be cheating because of an emotional connection that she's not finding in the relationship. I'm not suggesting there aren't also logical reasons why men cheat, but it's wrong on either side.
It is wrong on either side, but the previous conversation was very much just the fault of the cheater. In this case, there was a compassion to her reasoning. Now, there wasn't a compassion to a man cheating because he wants sex. Like, if we're going to show compassion, it has to be on both ends. The woman outsourcing...
I don't think I was showing compassion to the woman. What I was saying was, your assertion that there's only one reason women cheat and it's because they don't have respect for their man was a really singular notion.
But I would still argue that, because even if she's lacking emotional connection, you're going to lose respect for the person that you don't have a connection with, but you're tied to. There's going to be some, because look, there's some women that lack emotional connection, but they don't progress to cheating. There's some women that lack financial stability, they don't go to cheating. I think the lacking is one component, but it's not the only.
But I guess what I'm saying is, why is it different for men?
I personally don't think there's much coming back from when men cheat either. But in my personal experience, sometimes what I notice is men go into two categories, right? Some men will, when a woman forgives them, they'll think, right, I've got a freedom pass, I can do this forever. I'm going to do this forever. Other men will think, I've done it, I've tried all types of, it's usually sexual. So it's out of my system.
Or I hurt myself, I hurt my wife.
I hurt myself, and I
could lose my family and my kids.
Yeah, there's too much to lose, and then they can repair. With women, it's just and also the other thing is he doesn't start to think less of her for forgiving him. In my experience, men don't think less of a woman for forgiving him. They might think, they might go and disrespect and do it again, but they still think, oh, she's really loyal, and they kind of like the forgiveness. They kind of appreciate the forgiveness. With a forgiveness, when you give to a woman, it just makes her feel like, I have a man that doesn't respect himself more. He likes the relationship more than he likes himself.
I really struggle with that. I disagree.
Have you worked with men that have been cheated on?
Well, yeah.
And have they been cheated on just the one time, or do they end up getting cheated on again and again by the same person?
Well, I can't say I've worked with someone over 6 months or a year and tracked whether they've been cheated on multiple times, but the idea being put forward is that women don't have shame around having cheated. The primary emotion for most people when they cheat, unless they're incredibly unhealthy, is shame. It's terrible shame. It's guilt that overwhelms them, men or women.
What if someone doesn't have that?
Well, I would argue that is someone who maybe fits more the mold you're talking about.
But I would say that the underlying trait to cheat is a lack of guilt and a lack of shame. I think to get there involves an element of lack of shame and guilt.
I don't know that that's true. There's so many people who cheat are guilt-ridden, shame-ridden, hate themselves afterwards, regret it for years. Many people go to
would
therapy
imagine
to try
that's-
to overcome the shame and the guilt they feel from having
But
cheated on
would you say
someone.
those are more the people that do it one time by accident? I'm talking prolonged affairs can't be that much shame and guilt.
No, but
Prolonged affairs, I wouldn't say has that much. Otherwise, you'd stop.
Well, there are affairs that go on too long, and there are affairs that people stop and then look back on and go, how could I have done that? I mean, mistakes fall into both categories, both the act of passion and loss of judgment in the moment. Sometimes it's a loss of judgment for 4 months. But what I'm saying is the idea that I really don't want to perpetuate this idea, because it really inflames men in a way that I think is bad for relations between men and women. This idea that women are sort of especially bad and underhanded, and that they'll go and cheat, and once they've cheated, to add insult to injury, if he forgives her, they'll go, yuck, you forgave me.
Absolutely,
I have
yeah.
no respect for you now. That is perpetuating an idea that actually makes a lot of men incredibly angry at women for very unjust reasons, because the truth is women are just as capable of feeling, and in many cases more so, feeling tremendous shame and guilt after they've cheated. That is the headline. The headline isn't, if he forgives me, I am going to keep screwing him over and over again. The headline
then how
is,
do you
I
explain-
am guilt-ridden, and if he's forgiven me, I still struggle with the guilt, and it's going to take me a long time to get over it.
But then how do you explain perpetual cheaters, which happens many
On both
times?
sides.
Yeah, but how do you explain that if people...
I'm not making a difference between men and women here. You are.
I know, but here's what I'm saying is that there isn't really a huge difference in terms of the propensity to cheat again. The difference is how the people respond to it. One is slightly more dangerous than the other. The response, when it comes to the anger and hate men feel to themselves, because look, fundamentally everybody, they might say differently. Fundamentally, if you ask somebody who's been cheated on, if they had a magic pill, one would make them forgive their partner and the other one would give them the willingness to walk away. Which pill would they take? Most people wish they had the ability to walk away because they don't want to live with those thoughts and flashbacks. I genuinely believe if you gave everybody those options, men or women, they would take the pill that says, I have the willingness to walk away and understand that this is not healthy for me, rather than a pill that makes me forgive. So when you have to automatically go down the path you don't truly want to be in, and then you're faced with the flashbacks, and then you're faced with the kind of worry and paranoia and stuff, combined with increased physical strength, it's not a safe environment to put yourselves in. And I also have...
That's a different point than the one you were making.
I know,
that's
but
not the physical point. Is a very different point from
but
the one
that
you were
aside,
making.
but the lack of respect is you don't... look, I wish this wasn't the truth. I'm not saying this from a prejudiced perspective. I'm saying this from a factual perspective. I wish it wasn't the truth. But the reality is we know, look, we've all looked at pickup artists. Yeah, we've all looked at pickup artists in the past. The fundamental kind of theme pickup artists tell men when you want to pick up women is what? To act like there's plenty of fish in the sea. That is a fundamental trait that gets women into bed with you. You act like there's plenty of fish in the sea. When you become that guy that's too needy, that's too persistent, you lose her sexual interest. Now, if that works on a short-term fling, tell me how, on a long-term level, when you know your wife has slept with another man, had sex with another man, every position you've done with her, she's done it with another man, and you show forgiveness on that end, is that not just an extreme version of the guy that double texts?
Absolutely not.
And so,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why
It's
is that?
completely different.
Why is that?
Because you're discounting what a relationship is. A relationship is two people who have built something together.
But
who
Tom,
love
you're-
each
you're-
other.
you're
You're
expecting-
reducing a relationship to, his ability to demonstrate he can go and get other people, and that you're still framing forgiveness, which in the right context, not in every context, but in the right context, is an extraordinary, brave and powerful act.
All weak. All weak, if it is...
In some contexts.
Yeah,
but
all
you're
weak.
framing all forgiveness as an act of desperation.
Because here's the thing with forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean continuation. If you were my husband and you hit me, I can forgive you in 5 minutes. I'm a very non-grudge kind of person, but I would not stay married to you. It's as simple as that.
But you said everyone, if they could have the choice, would take the pill to leave, and that's just not true.
Well, then, if
there
you
are plenty
do
of
take
people
that...
who, by the way, in many cases, if someone cheats on you, leaving is easier. Leaving is the easier way out. Staying and healing and doing the work with someone to get over it is the harder path. People don't take the easy pill of just leaving a lot of the time. And not just because they're desperate or because they're too weak. Sometimes they take the other road because they are brave and because they actually believe in the relationship and they love the person and they want to make it work.
But love is not reciprocal is the key component, because if it was reciprocal, nobody would be doing something that would fundamentally destroy it. So
so just so I'm clear, your belief is that on the male or the female side, or maybe you're just talking about women again, if someone cheats, they do not love the person and they are not capable of ever loving the person again.
I think their version of love involves incredible amount of pain to the person they love. Now, if you co-sign that behavior, you are not demonstrating love, self-compassion. You're demonstrating codependency. Yes, you can forgive, and it's a difficult route, and you can go. But what you're ignoring is cheating is a symptom, not the cause of the pain. There's a deeper issue of respect in the relationship that's been lost. There's a deeper issue of transparency in the relationship that's been lost. There's a deeper issue of trust that's been lost.
Let me ask you this: what is your
cheating
message?
is a symptom.
What is your message to all? But let me ask this because it's important.
Before you ask it though, what I'm hearing Sadia say is when you create a relationship that's healthy, there's standards that you're supposed to have, right? And hopefully you communicate those, but some of those are uncommunicated. We're not supposed to cheat if we're in a committed exclusive relationship.
And especially reciprocated. It should be reciprocated.
It should be reciprocated. We're going to trust each other. We're going to be loyal. We're not going to cheat on each other. Yeah. That's a committed relationship. Unless you've communicated otherwise and has some other type of relationship.
And if you've got open, that's not cheating in my eyes. Yeah.
Exactly. So I know your book is all about, setting standards at a certain level. So let's say the standards are met where men and women say, we're not going to do this. And then it happens once that someone breaks a standard, which maybe someone's emotionally angry at someone and they broke a standard there. Maybe they did something else behind their back, that it wasn't sexual cheating, but we're talking about sexual cheating now. And what would you think then if someone did break that standard? If it was a man that cheated on the woman, should the woman stay if the man says, I'm really sorry, it's never going to happen again? Or he just says, I'm just not getting my needs met. Either way.
Would she be brave for forgiving him and very kind for forgiving him?
She might be, yeah. I mean, that's an intensely personal decision that every single person has to make. No one can make that on behalf of another person.
But would she be brave and she'd be good to forgive him and she'd be a kind person to forgive him?
Well, no, that depends where it's coming from.
But then why is your answer different for men and women?
It's not different. My answer is the same for men and women.
So
what was strange to me is that it was, for you, it was a man was capable of cheating and then moving on with continuing with the relationship, having been forgiven and creating a healthy relationship on the back of that.
I did say that's not I said it's difficult.
Okay, but you were very definitive about saying 100% of the time with women, they are incapable of such grace.
Yeah.
That they cannot do it. In fact, for them, the only motivator is how manly and masculine the person is, and apparently that's defined by him rejecting her after she slept with someone else.
It's not about
and
rejecting her.
I have to wonder what you would say to the huge number of people who will be watching this who have had infidelity in their relationship and have gone on to have beautiful relationships after that.
I would say that in my personal experience, the reason I'm so adamant with this message, whenever I've done videos where I talk about this, the endless amount of comments and messages I get saying this is 100% true. I forgave my wife. She did it again and again, and I found out my children weren't mine. She did it again. The risk of men forgiving cheating is bigger than the risk of women forgiving cheating. If I cheat on my husband biologically, the kids. Now, there are some fundamental differences between men and women that are simply biological.
You have to explain that to me again.
So if a woman's cheating...
Because if a man cheats and he leaves her on her own with kids, that doesn't represent a giant issue for her?
It does represent a huge issue.
In your mind, the issue is bigger if she cheats and...
He has children that he's paying for. I know there's cases of men going to jail
so
for
there's a financial obligation, but that's a worse one than the woman who's going to spend her life raising children on her own when a guy leaves.
But here's the thing: the law.
I have to hear that. Do you think that the financial the financial risk is bigger than the risk to a woman of bringing up a family on her own if a guy
Because
leaves.
the law helps. When you, if I have my husband doesn't pay child support, the law will help me.
But you'll still be raising kids on your own.
I will be, but
that's a lesser
you ask
risk.
financially. You ask financially, so I'll stay on the finances.
No, I'm saying is the finance a lesser risk to you than a woman having to bring up a family on her own for the rest of her life?
Here's the thing: bringing up the children alone will happen, men or women cheating, or just a breakdown of relationship. But here's the key difference: if I have a child with somebody and he chooses not to pay child support, I can get the law involved. But if I pretend the child's his and he's not paying child support, he can end up in jail for a child that's not even his. So the risks involved are
So
big.
if a woman cheats, what I'm hearing you say, if a woman cheats and doesn't tell the husband he's with, the man he's with, that she's in a relationship, and has a child that's not the husband's child.
Imagine the emotional consequences of that. Imagine that. So we're women, look, we always know our child is ours. One thing we can go through life is with that certainty that even if we're left alone raising this child, this is my child. I bore this child, and yes, it's difficult, but it's my child. The emotional consequences of raising children and then figuring out they're not yours, or going to jail for not paying child support and the child's not even yours, that's aside. That's still kind of a secondary thing. My main question is, why, when a man cheats on a woman, we are so quick to blame the person and say he was outsourcing his needs, and yourself included, where like the cheater is wrong or he might be narcissistic.
No. Hang on. Don't put words in my mouth. I said men and women are wrong if they cheat. What I don't do is draw a strange difference between men and women in this department, which is what you seem to do with women. So can you
then outwardly say it's incredibly brave and incredibly compassionate
on either side?
When women forgive men for cheating?
On either side, I think if someone's coming from a place of love and strength, not from a place of having zero boundaries, not from a place of not respecting themselves, if they decide that they believe the person and that they understand that person well enough to understand why that act happened and where it came from, and they want to be big enough, because it requires an extremely big person on the side of a man or a woman to be able to do that. If they want to do that, I think that's an extraordinary act, and it's an extraordinary ability to sidestep ego and do something out of love. I can't believe I've spent so much of this episode defending, forgiving cheating, because it's not. Look at any other piece of content I've ever done. I've never even talked about this before, but it really feels to me, I think what you're saying is a real dismissal of, so many people will be watching this going, I've had infidelity in my relationship, and we're 10 years past that, and we have an extraordinary relationship, and how dare you invalidate my entire relationship?
What about the millions of people who have watched it and thought to themselves, if I had just known this, I wouldn't have carried on with that woman, started a family with her, and now she lives in my home with another man, and I pay child support. What about those people?
Well, that's an eventuality, but any woman can tell any number of stories that are equivalent to that.
I know, but it's an equal amount of people on both ends. We can't just cater to one end of the argument.
Who's doing that?
But if
we keep getting mixed up here. I am saying it's the same on either side.
Okay.
You seem to be saying that making this point about women and how they are just driven by whether they respect the man or not. They are incapable of, which I think is a real insult to women, actually. They are incapable.
But not women cheaters. It's a different
component. So cheaters aren't women anymore?
No, we're female cheaters. Female cheaters is different to women.
I don't draw a distinction. I'm talking about female cheaters. You're saying female cheaters are fundamentally different from male cheaters, because a female cheater will look at a guy and say, if you forgive me, there goes my respect for you. And I am saying that is massively insulting to women's ability
cheating women's ability
cheating women's ability to... Well, cheating women are still women.
Yeah, I know.
But it's a subgroup who are women.
Because look, if I'm saying a blanket statement of women don't appreciate forgiveness, then I wouldn't be in a relationship. I required forgiveness from my partner many times for our relationship to work.
The way you speak about people who cheat is like they're the Antichrist and they'll never be able to come back from it.
But earlier you said that I was too soft on people that cheat.
No.